Alright guys, we're back here for another episode of Crazy Dad's Garage. This is Eldon here. We're going to be doing some more work on this latest rat rod project next. And yeah, it's time to work on the dashboard and try to finish off that windshield frame and maybe tackle the door skins. So we'll flip the camera around here and get started in that process. Alright, in the last video we left off with having the dashboard narrowed down and stuck in place, fitted in place so that it worked. So since then I've come down here, I've patched the two rust holes that we had here, and then taken the flap disc on my grinder and cleaned up the welds from narrowing the dashboard down. So we are in pretty good shape there. It's fitted good. I've got the mating surface where my welds are going to go cleaned up across there. Down the sides we are cleaned up. Let's see, along the bottom edge of the dash I've got that ground down to clean metal, and then we are prepped in our corners, so we've got some clean metal to weld to in places there. So we're ready to go back in. I also did a little relief cut right here that the dash had cracked down through there, and so we needed to weld it back together anyway. So I just cut a little relief cut in there, and we will tack that back together as we come along. So that's where we're going to start. I'm going to get things set up, and we'll get up in there and get the dash put back in place. Got her set back in place there, and all fitted in where we want it. It worked out really good here because my cut came too close down to here and was showing before, but I've got it fitted where I get it back up in there now, and it's actually fitting really good. I like the way it's sitting in there. So I had to do a little tiny half moon type relief cut in the face of that over both of these, so that where this gauge, what do you call it, raised edge right there comes out, that it would sit flush, so that I'm actually right here. I'm going to be tight on both sides of it and all the way along there. So I am ready to start tack welding this thing in place, and that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, not going to be anything rocket science at this point. All my fittings done. I'll just get that tack welded in place there, and then we'll be back. There we have it. I got her tacked in place now. A little harder to weld than this upside down thing here, but we got her done. Got her welded in a couple of spots up inside of there, tying it to the side of our framework, and we're in. So yeah, I'll come back and finish weld all of that, but there you go. That gives you a picture of what the dash is going to look like from the inside. Now, let's see where we're going to go next here. I don't know. I'm going to do some looking. We may not tackle the windshield header yet. I may go down here and start on these doors. I've got to decide. It's 4th of July weekend, and my neighbors all have friends over, and I don't want to be banging and grinding here and disturbing them. But I'll probably try fitting some stuff up here in those door openings just to see what I can come up with. So see what looks good. Take it from there. I think the first thing I am going to do probably on these is I've got a strip of metal that I can cut that's going to go across here, so that the door's not, let's get you where you can see, so the door's not going to go from here all the way down to the bottom. There's going to be a sill underneath there, and then the door will only come part way down. And so that's the game plan. And again, it's not going to be a door, it's going to be a fake door that's welded shut and covering that. So yeah, let me go through my metal and see what I've got here, see what we can make work. Okay, it's been probably 2 weeks since I made the last chunk of this video, but here's where we're going from now. So this piece right here is just a piece of scrap that I had from something, but by cutting it in two and cutting off the rolled edges and leaving the one on the bottom, I'm going to be able to get 2 of the door sill plates out of there that I was just talking about to go right along in this area. So I think I'll get them in. I'm probably going to put another piece of the square tubing in for a backer behind that once I get them in. Then, all right, there are my 2 door panels. Yeah, it'll kind of have a little bit of the theme with the thing, but we'll leave the bullet holes in them. I'll straighten them up a little bit, flatten them so that they fit on here, and then we'll form them up so that they fit the contour of the door. I have done a little bit of work here with the flap disc, getting these welds smoothed up so that that whole thing looks a little bit better. So I've got those done across the top of the cowl. Came in and touched up these welds, which added a lot to it. And so that's kind of about as far as I've gotten. I've touched up a few things here, but mostly getting ourselves ready for the process of building the doors. So that's where we're going to go next. I'm going to get my sill pieces cut out here. Got to do a little forming because I need a more abrupt 90-degree edge on the bottom edge of it instead of this rolled edge. So I'll have to hammer that into them. But that's where we're going to move to next. So I'll get those cut out and get that edge, probably get them cut and fitted here. I don't know that I'm going to do a whole lot special. I'm going to screw them onto the bottom like I've been doing and weld them up the sides here to get them tied in. I think it's going to be the process that I'm going to do for those. So I'm going to get them cut, shaped, probably put in place by the time I come back in the next segment of the video, because this is not rocket science. Here we go. Got those 2 pieces cut and fitted, ready to get them welded in place there. So I've bent a little bit of curvature in it this way, and I'll start down here at the bottom and start tacking my way up and kind of make that curvature fit as I tack it in place. You can see back here it's got too much in it, but it'll all work out because this is a pretty lightweight piece of metal here. So we'll get that put in place. Got the other side ready to go over there too. Same scenario, so I'm going to get them tacked in place, and we'll be back. There we go. Got those sill panels welded in there. I got them all welded solid. And over here I've got this one ground off smooth right there on the corners where I know I'm going to overlap it. I haven't put this reinforcement brace back here yet because I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do there. But I did take, so I started out with a buggered up piece of metal that looked like that, and I have managed to shape myself a door panel out of it here. So I knocked all the dents out of it to get it all flattened out. Then I had to come in. There were a couple of the bullet holes. This one hadn't gone all the way through, but it was dented out enough that it was going to get down into where I was going to be wanting to fasten the solid metal. So I had to flatten that one out. I actually came on the back of them, and they had, each of them had a piece of metal that was folded over and was just sharp. So I cut those off and kind of smooth that up a little bit. I'm not hyper worried about this because I'll probably do something on the inside to cover it so you don't cut yourself on it. I got myself a edge shaped along the top of there to sit on this rail here and fasten down. And then where I've got this little body line coming along right there, you can see that I've made myself a crease right here. So I've got this corner is still not formed, but that'll let me sit down tight into that body line right there with this screw. And then I will form, I still got to shape a little bit here and form this to where it needs to be. But I've got that metal there where I can do that. So we are ready to go back on and or go on. Actually, got one more thing I've got to do here. See if I've got the right tool to do it with. Let's try it.
vice grips here. I got one spot down here. Where are we? Along the bottom edge, where I've got one bullet hole that's going to get out into this area. So I'm going to, where are we here? There, I'm going to dimple that out just a little bit so that that bullet hole won't try to bend this and push it out of the way. But that should be sufficient, I think. Maybe I'll go a little bit more here, just so I can clear that bullet hole so we're not causing a dent to be there. So now, let's get it up here. Grab my panel. I'm going to bring it back so it goes around that body feature right there. And then this is my crease that I'll raise up just a little bit to line up there. I've got a hole pre-drilled for that. So I'm going to get this screw and that screw in place, and that will get me in the right position. And then I'm going to start down here drilling and putting screws in all of these holes. And I'm not sure if I'll go across the bottom yet. Probably will. I think I'll put those screws in and then take them back out before I put the square tube brace along the bottom edge there, right here. Because I want to locate it so that my screws actually go into it. There you can see how I had to clearance it for that one bullet hole right there. I think we'll be all right there. Looks like it. I might pull what would be the bottom side of it to you in the picture out just a little bit more so that it fits better. But that'll let me screw in there. I'm going to be able to catch, I believe, all of that square tube coming up and down both edges here. So that's my goal. That's where I'm going to go from here. I'll get some screws in it, and then we'll show you what we've ended up with. There we go. That's the way, we like it. So we got all those screws in. What I did is I did these like 4 at a time down each side, starting here and here, here and here. And I did that so I could work it down, and I actually put about 4 of them in up here. Then I started in the center here and worked my way out, and then just kept working my way down on that. And that kept everything concentric and correct relationships to each other and made it work out. Came across here and put a row of them in up here. I guess I did that after so I had this one in, then I started working on forming this roll to go over to match this body line coming in here. And basically I put that one in and then started tapping on it, getting it hammered down. And what I was finding is I don't think the screws would have held it well, so I actually went ahead and ran myself a bead up there to hold that top corner of it in place. Now the last thing I got to do, I'm going to take my grinder and cut this off here so that I can get this line of the dash to follow down into the top of the fake door there so that we get everything looking right. So that's our plan of attack at this point. I like the way it turned out. It's quite sturdy. I don't even know if I'm going to end up putting that inner piece in down there. I've got those screws. I need to do something to deal with that, but I might just cover that with some kind of an inner panel anyway, because, yeah, just for kicks and giggles, I don't know, to kind of hide the inside of it. I don't want, scratching ourselves on any of the bullet holes or those screws. So I don't know, haven't decided yet, but I'll figure that out in another step or two. All right, we'll go work on this corner, see if we can get that corner of the dash to come around and tie into this and look okay there. That'll be our next plan of attack here. Okay, as you can see, we did a little trimming there. Trimmed it down straight here and then cut it off here so I could tack it down so these two would be the same level. Then I just built this little filler piece. It's going to sit in there, something to that effect. and that'll allow me to weld everything together and tie it all in and carry that curve around the dash. So that's what I'm going to do here. Get those all tacked together and show you the finished result. And that completes our door on this side. So we've got that lip rolled over and down underneath there. So now all I got to do is get out my flap disc and finish that off. That'll blend that right into the cowl arch there, and I think it'll look really good. So that is what we did to get ourselves the door replaced there. And I think that's gonna look all right. It's hard to get a good shot from this side over here. I'll get that other one made up and we'll give you a shot of the whole passenger side of the thing, because it's easier for me to get farther away over there. But yeah, so we got the bullet holes in there, and you know, yeah, I could have done it with straight metal, but what the heck, that's part of the rat rod theme on the thing. It'll match the rust holes in the back over there, and my bullet hole back in the corner. So got a few bullet holes on the dash, so it'll all match up and look good. So anyway, there you go. Now we're gonna move around onto this other side and make ourselves the other piece here, the other door, to cover up that hole, and that'll pretty much have us complete with that. Still not sure whether I'm going to put a lower bar down there where the screws all came through or not. Haven't decided on that. We'll just give that a little time and see. It's actually quite sturdy. I'm not getting any tin canny movement inside and out of there, so I think we'll be fine. But that's what we're gonna do up to this point. And now I'm gonna get this one put together. I'm not gonna worry you with the details of that, but I'll come back as we start into the next part of the project, which is going to be working on that windshield frame, the top of it, and getting it finished off. There we have our second door. Now we'll actually be able to get an idea of what the thing's really going to look like all together. So yeah, here's some pictures of it from behind. So you'll notice that that door ended up being very narrow, and I knew that would be the case from front to back as we were patching the two bodies together. But I think overall it doesn't look too bad. And proportionally, it's not way out of shape because I took it and I overlapped it over the front and the back edge of the body a little bit, so that widened it up visually. But yeah, I think that's going to work. Now all that leaves me to do is figure out what to do with the top of that windshield frame. First thing I'm going to do is cut a bunch of that metal out of there and get some bulk out of it, and then we'll figure out how to tie the front half together with the back half back here. So I've got a flat top on top of them, and then what we will end up doing with this corner, whether we'll have it going out here or we'll figure out some other angle to take it off with, I'm not sure. Haven't got that far yet in my figuring. So we will come back to that. I've spent a better part of my day doing the doors, but I think my first step is going to be to cut this along that body line right there. That's going to radically reduce the height and the bulk of that, and then that will line up somewhere, you know, I don't know, I'll probably come up here maybe a ½ inch, 3/4 of an inch, something like that, cut myself a consistent line across there, and that'll be my starting point on where I'm gonna start piecing this thing together. So I'm gonna do that on a different day. We will be back and show you some more progress on it here when I get to that point. But it's coming for not having spent any money on the thing. I am pretty content with it. I think once I get it down off of that the sawhorses and the jig and get it down sitting at right height, I think it's going to be pretty cool looking. It's going to have about the dimensions and the wheelbase of a standard tea bucket. Just have a lot more leg room inside of it. And so I don't know. We'll see what happens when we get a little farther along. All right, we took her down off of our handy dandy high buck frame jig there. Got her sitting on the floor now. It gives a quite different perspective on the thing. And the funny thing is, I bet it doesn't weigh 100 pounds the way it's sitting there. I think it's quite a bit less than that. I'd guess maybe somewhere from 50 to 75 pounds is about all that thing weighs right at the moment. So, all right, here's where we go from here. I'm going to start by coming in here, and I'm going to cut along this crease right here so I can get rid of the top section of that. That is going to involve also cutting down across here so I can get rid of these inner bracing pieces. And we're not going to need them for what we're doing. So we'll just get that bulk of the metal out of there. So I get that off. Now I want to do this a piece at a time so I see what it looks like as I go along. But that's going to be my starting point, to get that chunk of metal out of there. All right, got a bunch of that cut out of there now, like I said I was going to do. Now if you come back over here and look at the thing, you can see that took a bunch of the visual bulk out of the top of it, which is one of the big things that I'm after. Sitting over here and looking at it, I think what I'm going to do next is get myself a compass and set myself at a measurement across here and cut this at a straight line, and my compass will follow down around that curve, which will give me one line to work with. Somewhere over here I'll probably come out, but I want to get a little more of the bulk off of the top of this windshield frame here, and that will, I'm sure, entail going in and cutting more of this out, but I'll be able to get to it easier once I've done that. So that's where I'm going to go next. Get my compass set up here so I can see what I'm doing, and we'll show you how I do that. Okay, so here we go. I have my compass set up here at about 3/4 of an inch, and what I'm just going to do is come along here and get myself a mark all the way along there. I'll carry it down around that corner. Not that I'm going to cut that far, but that's what I'm going to do. Now that I'm going to have to go back and do this off camera to get that mark better, but I just want you to kind of get a feel for what I've got in mind here. And that's going to give me a line that will follow along the top of the windshield opening itself. Cut a little bit more bulk out of there. I think that's going to take nearly another 1/2 inch off of that front piece. And then as you can see here, by the time I get that down there, we're going to still be sloping back down to get back to this point here. But I think that's going to get the start of it, so I'm going to follow that over probably somewhere in this area, because this is where it really starts to dive off, and maybe round off. I don't know. Got to see what I want to do, because I want to probably going to come out here like this so I can keep that same flat. So I'll have a flat all the way back to there that I can weld my metal into. And that somewhere here pretty quick I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do here. Don't know what that's going to look like yet, but I don't want this coming out to a point like that. I'll bet I'm going to end up cutting it off at an angle, something like this. If I can, I want to preserve this set of holes here that mounts the sun visor, so that I could use a sun visor, a pair of sun visors in this if I wanted to. But I think that's getting me kind of where I want to be there. So I'm going to get my mark laid out better, like I said, I'm going to continue probably from here on around that way, I think. So I'll get that laid out and get that cut made, and show you where I'm at that point. Here we go. So I've got my cut made along the front here, which narrowed that down. Again, we're taking a bunch of the visual bulk out of the top of that thing. I think that's going to make it look a lot better. And that also brings, well, let's see, before I go there, I cut these things down farther so that they're below this level so I can go across there easily. And the other thing that this did then is it showed me, gave me a better idea of where to do my cut here. Because our bulk is gone there, that leaves me with a bunch of bulk right here. And I was thinking about chopping it down this way, but as I'm looking at this, hold my hand up here. So I've got the holes for that sun visor right in that area there. So if I made my cut like this, it will, you know, somewhere along in here coming up, you know, kind of carrying this line all the way up through there, I guess, would make that, so we'll get rid of this chunk of the bulk and leave me where I can still use the sun visor. I think that'll look all right. And so you'll get rid of the point out here, which becomes, you know, dangerous if you're bouncing around in the thing at all. But that will give me, it will slim down that bulk right there, which I think is the main thing that I need to do at this point. So that's where I'm going to go next, is get that line figured and that cut made. And then at that point, basically my cuts will be done. It'll be just creating a plate to go across there to stitch the two pieces together. I'm going to have to fine tune those cuts a little bit, I can see from here, but they're not bad. All right, be back then. Well, that shaped it up a lot. I like the way that's turning out. I've gotten rid of most of the bulk that went in there and made this thing look much more like it was supposed to be, a roadster windshield rather than a pickup windshield. So I think this is going to work out all right. Kind of seeing it from this angle for the first time, just as you are. But I think that's going to work. I got rid of my bulkiness. That's what I was really, really after. It just felt frumpy the way that it was. And now it looks much, much more hot rodish. I like that. So, got that all cut out, kind of trimmed up. I had a big bullet dent right there and another one right here. So I've got them straightened out, cut down. This is all prepped and ready. So my next step then is going to be to start cutting and fitting a metal cap to go along here and get it welded in place. So I'll do that probably, I don't know if I'll do these end caps first or do them afterwards. I haven't decided that yet. I don't know, I'll bet I'll start, I think I'll start up here and come out and cap it probably to this point right across here. It's going to be the first thing that I'm going to do. And that will be where I'll start next. So I'll get myself some cap plates made up there, and we'll be back as we put them into place. Here we go. Got a cap plate cut there, and just got myself a piece of metal and set it on there, and use my pencil to draw a line around underneath it. Cut it out with my 10 snips, and should be ready to weld that puppy back in place. Yep, there we go. So I'll get my cap plate on there, and we'll be able to get that closed off, get it looking better. So I'm going to tack that in place, and we'll be back and show you that progress. There we have it. Got that plate tacked in across the top there. got my second one cut for over here. We'll get it tacked in place. I also didn't have a big enough chunk of metal to do this right here, so I'm gonna cut myself and tack in another little spliced in piece there to get my piece all the way across. And it looks like I missed my straight across cut there. Well, I'll have to work on filling that in. But anyway, that's where I'm going from here. Let's get that piece put in place. There we go. I got both sides on now. I got myself a little piece there. I will fill this other gap in after I get my plate on here. I think it'll just work out easier. So that's the next step then, is to cut the plates that will go and fill up this area here. So I'll cut them, get them tacked in place. Should be pretty straightforward there. So I'll do that and be back when I'm done with that point. Well, there we go. All right, we got those end caps all put in there. This one I had ended up with something of a gap there, but it's going to be something I can fill up just by welding it. I won't have to cut myself another filler to go in there, but that's going to cap that off and work out really good. This one, similar thing. I'm not going to need to make a filler up here. I'll be able to fill that with weld. There you go. That'll run our line pretty much straight up the post there. Make it all fit in there good. So yeah, it's actually turned out pretty good. I'm very happy with it. Yeah, if I stand here at the front, looks like I may not have gotten it perfectly symmetrical there, but it's close, and it's a rat rod. So yeah, anyway, there we go. And then I decided to get the thing set up on some jack stands, so get it about ride height, so you can get a feel for kind of what it's going to look like as it sits there. Now, those tires are about the same ones I've got on the back of my rat rod now. Might go a little bigger, might not, but it gives me room for a motor, and my other front wheel is going to be out here somewhere about where the corner of that cab is. But anyway, I think that the thing is turning out going to be very unique. There won't be another one on the road like it, and not only that, in my opinion, I didn't make an ugly mess out of the thing. You know, everybody's got their different opinions. It could go 100 different ways, but I'm actually happy with it, more so than I thought I would be when I started. So there we go. Let's see if I can get back here. I got too many cars and four-wheelers in the way and things like that, but yeah, that'll give you a pretty decent feel for what it'll look like from the back. It's plenty wide for what we're going to need to do. Be curious to get some measurements of the standard Ford pickup rear end that I've been using in things to see, you know, how far out that'll put the tires, but I'm betting that's going to be fairly close to where they'll actually sit right there. But all things considered, turned out for a freebie with a lot of stinking work in it. Yeah, I get that. To be something fun and desirable. It's kind of hard to find a steel body that's usable from something like a T or an A or something like that anymore. And the fiberglass one is kind of expensive. They're not terrible, I get that, but they're a sizable chunk of money if you want to get a decent one. But this is definitely going to be something that we can work with. So there you go. I am going to wrap this video up, and that'll kind of be the end of this series for a little while. We'll get all the welding finished up and ground down and those kind of things, and I'm probably going to set this one aside for a little bit. I'm going to get ready to do some work on the C10 out there. Got the motor parts for it, so I need to get moving forward on that. But anyway, there we go. Yeah, besides being a fun exercise and what can you do with nothing for me, which is part of the thrill of this, but I'm actually quite pleased with it. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, but now that it's done, I think I'm going to go ahead and build it out at some point in time and turn it into the hot rod that I've wanted. So cool. Anyway, there you go. Oh yeah, the other thing, even with this thing completely welded up like that and all of those parts on it, now granted there'll be more framework and stuff I'll put in it, but I don't think that thing weighs more than 75 pounds right now. So it'll be very lightweight, perfect for a little roadster, especially if I could find a big block to put in it. Wouldn't have to do a whole lot to the motor to actually have a very fun, very quick little car. So there you go. I'm going to sign off here. This is Eldon at Crazy Dad's Garage. Thanks for watching. And again, I appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, like it, share the video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. I hope you're all having fun playing in your garage, and maybe you've learned a few things watching as I've pulled this big piece of junk together and made something fun with it. There you go. I'll talk to you later, everybody. Have a great day.